Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Hello, people, and welcome back to another exciting episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And as you could see, or for people who can see, like if you're not just listening to this on whatever podcast service you're listening to, and you are checking this out either live on Twitch or on YouTube, then you may notice that I did get a significant update to my look. I got a haircut and I shaved off my beard, so there's definitely a whole lot less hair on me. So I'm pretty much going in with a fresh new start this week, especially now that all my troubles and worries of the surgery that I had at the start of the month are pretty much over, so I could pretty much go and get back to normal. So, first of all, by the way, I forgot to go and mention, how have you all been doing this week, folks? How has your weekend been? You've been doing good, enjoying your final days of summer? Well, technically, like, there are still several days of summer left, but then again, that's just a technicality. But anyways, we are going to be here for a fun time. Now, I'm just warning you now that this will be a shorter episode than usual. By the way, thank you, Meta Ralph, for that subscription. This will be a bit shorter. There hasn't been a whole lot of news that came out this week. We are only going to do 4 stories instead of the usual 5, but still, we will do our best to go and have a great time here. And by the way, just want to go and quickly mention that considering that recently there have been many deaths, well, not many, but a good amount of prominent deaths that have occurred in the past few days, and I think it really is worth mentioning them. Like, recently, we have lost Arlene Sorkin, who is the, not only the inspiration, but the original voice of Harley Quinn when the character was created for Batman, the animated series, so she is unfortunately no longer with us. There was also Bob Barker, the longtime host of The Price is Right, who has passed away at the ripe old age of 99, almost 100 years old. And also the passing of 3 black people in Jacksonville, Florida, who were unfortunately shot down by a far-right Republican gunman who was just fueled by the racism that was established by Ron DeSantis, Donald Trump, and many other GOP members, thus proving more examples as to why America is in desperate need to have laws that would go and separate hate speech from freedom of speech, and to make hate speech and bigotry of all forms, including racism, homophobia, transphobia, misogyny, and more, to be illegal. So may they all rest in peace, and hopefully their families are doing well during this pretty dark time. And I would even say, even for the fans of Harley Quinn, or even with Bob Barker, that they will find peace during these tough times right now. But especially for the families of the people who did end up getting shot by the racist gunman. So, anyways, now that I have said my little piece there, I think now it is going to be time that we shall go and begin this episode. So, Chadwell, let me ask you all, are you ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it, folks. Are you prepared for this? Let's see now, yes? Okay, I see people are beginning. I see people are prepared for this. That is beautiful. That is great. Now that we are all set, it is now time that we shall go and get things started. And with the first story that I have, we are going to go and talk about something that will be a bit of a theme on this episode entirely, which will be about 4K, and especially in the case of Disney, because recently Disney has been pretty much going into this streak of like big 4K news that they have been putting out there. One very notable one is the fact that on Disney Plus, Disney has recently released the newly restored 4K version of the 1950 classic Cinderella. And it has so far been getting massive praise from the public, especially for the fact that it is one of the best restorations that Disney has done in recent years, taking the original film from 1950 that they got from the Library of Congress and using that to go and fully clean out Cinderella, to go and like present it for what it truly is. Like all the fine detail and all the right colors that they used back then now can be in full display on Disney Plus. So there's already that. But that's not what I'm here to go and talk about. That's just to go and quickly mention about the restoration work that has been done by the Disney Archives and the Disney team, that they've done such wonderful work. And again, definitely worth watching on Disney Plus to let you know, to let Disney know that you do appreciate the work that they put in. But what I'm going to be talking about here is actually regarding the physical media that recently that was recently announced, not recently came out, but has been announced. And this is actually very surprising in terms of the content that they will be releasing on physical media, because you think that these are just going to be staying as they're just going to stay as streaming exclusives. But not anymore, because now Disney has announced that some of their biggest Disney Plus shows is going to be coming to 4K. And what I am specifically talking about is Loki Season 1, WandaVision, and The Mandalorian Season 1 and Season 2. All those shows and all those seasons are going to have a physical media release on 4K Ultra HD and on Blu-ray. In fact, to go a little more into specifics of what they are going to be doing, reading my source here on GameSpot, it has stated here, the first wave includes the first season of Loki, WandaVision, and Star Wars The Mandalorian Season 1 and Season 2. The physical releases will feature each episode in 4K Ultra HD and standard Blu-ray formats, and will include collectible concept art cards, all new bonus feature content, and special steelbook packaging featuring illustrations by Attila Sarka. And not only that, and some people might be wondering though, considering that like you'll get like these new cards, you'll get a cool steelbook, but what about the bonus features? What's going to be in there? Now, they did not necessarily reveal any details onto all of them, but there is one, however, that will go and give us a bit of an example of what's going to be onto these 4Ks and Blu-rays, specifically in regards to Loki Season 1. In which it states here that Loki will also include bonus features like deleted scenes, gag reels, and behind-the-scenes featurettes. So basically, it's going to be more the same standard bonus features that you would find in most of the other DVDs and Blu-rays and 4K. So they're just going to go and give it the proper physical release treatment to give you more bang for your buck, that you're not just going to be getting the episodes, you're also going to get a whole bunch of other extra content that comes with it. But on top of that, they have also announced the release dates of when these are going to be coming out. And starting things off, the first one that will be released will be Loki Season 1, to which they have revealed that it's going to be released on September 26th. Then after that is going to be WandaVision, in which that one is going to be coming out much, much later on November 28th. And then finally, you got The Mandalorian Season 1 and Season 2, to which those are going to be released on December 12th. And on top of that, as I am recording on this day, August 28th, you can actually go on Amazon, or you could go wherever and actually pre-order them immediately. So if you really are in the mood to go and grab yourself a physical copy and actually own either The Mandalorian or Loki or WandaVision, you can actually go and set your pre-order right now so that you can get them later this year. And I gotta admit, this is actually very intriguing news. Like, I have heard that there were rumors that were coming out, but then again, I didn't necessarily think all that much because they were rumors after all. And sometimes with rumors, it's like, it can be pretty iffy. And especially with something like this, where you would hear about streaming exclusive shows suddenly gonna go and get their, physical release, which is almost unheard of. I'm not saying that it never happens. There have been a few instances where there are some Netflix or Paramount Plus exclusive content that would end up having a physical media release, but if they would be extremely rare. The grand majority of the time, they would remain as just streaming exclusives, and they would not be released in other parts, rather it be digitally or even especially physically in this day and age where many people have been thinking nowadays that maybe physical media is slowly but surely becoming endangered. In fact, in one of the previous episodes that I have talked about, you may have remembered not too long ago or a few weeks ago, I have actually discussed about how things are not looking good for the future of physical media, especially when Australia has been revealed that Disney will no longer be distributing any physical media there. Like after Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, they would pretty much be done. Afterwards, Australians will have to be dependent on watching content on Disney Plus for any future releases, and that's pretty much it. So there was that worrying future over there. And I mean, it still remains true to this day, especially when physical media is becoming less and less popular and people have become more dependent on streaming in order to consume their content, whether it be for TV shows or movies or whatever. But there are a bit of positive signs as well, where we do see stuff like this, where now they could go and get physical releases where, you know, there's still movies and shows that they're coming out either on DVD or Blu-ray or 4K Ultra HD. And it's honestly very surprising that we do end up seeing the Disney Plus exclusive content, especially the most popular ones out there, like the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian, of Loki, and WandaVision. So it looks like they really are at the start of experimenting something very big. They're pretty much testing the waters to see if taking their Disney Plus content and moving them to physical media might be a good and maybe profitable idea. And so far, it looks like maybe they're just going to be testing the waters with some of their biggest programs or some of their biggest content with just like the Marvel and the Star Wars stuff, you know? But I will say, though, one thing that does sound very promising is that in this article here, they did mention, and you probably heard me say this, that apparently this is going to be a first wave, that this is going to be the start of Disney releasing streaming exclusive content onto physical media. And this actually makes me a little bit hopeful. Like, as you guys probably know, I am a major collector of physical media, rather it be 4K or Blu-rays or even DVDs. Like, as you could see all around me, I am a massive collector of home media. And as a collector, it does get me a little bit excited to see what else is Disney going to be releasing in there. What else are they going to go and bring out onto 4K Ultra HD? And again, chances are they're most likely just going to be sticking with the Star Wars and the MCU stuff. But then again, who's to say that maybe they'll consider the idea of bringing some of their Disney content as well? And I did go and ask on social media what people think about this, and if there would be a possibility that maybe in the future we will see Disney actually release more Disney Plus exclusive content onto physical media, rather it be on Blu-ray or 4K or whatever. Like, what would they like to see? And a lot of people did respond. Of course, Muppets Mayhem was definitely a popular choice, but I have seen a lot of intriguing suggestions as well. Like some people say that maybe give Hamilton a 4K release, which I could see definitely really work out beautifully, especially for theater fans. Like that would be something that would fly off the shelves. Absolutely. Then there was also suggestions about the Imagineering story or the Howard Ashman documentary. So, you know, those are definitely some intriguing ideas right there. And already I do see some people bringing up other ideas. Like I see some people suggesting maybe the 2022 Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers movie. Some people are also saying Hocus Pocus 2. Others are even saying Only Murders in the Building. That is another interesting choice. I would definitely be in favor of that idea. That is definitely fascinating. Some and there's like so many others. Some people are saying like the Santa Clauses or Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel, I would say, like would be one of those that's like most likely because it is a Marvel thing. But then at the same time, however, there are some people that I've seen also suggested stuff that are no longer on Disney Plus. Like some people would say that they want to see like the one and only Ivan or the Willow series. And those ones, I gotta say, I am a little hesitant to say if they would actually go and do so, especially when right now Disney is kind of in a cost-saving move and that they're currently in this big battle against the strikers. I don't think they would go and immediately want to go and re-release those content that has disappeared from Disney Plus and has disappeared from the earth unless you rely on piracy. So in that regard, I'm not sure. But then again, there is also another one that some people have suggested that could be a good idea is the animated shorts, specifically the spark plugs from Pixar or the short circuits from Disney Animation. Those are also some pretty good suggestions. And not to mention like all the other like Disney animated shorts that have been released just on Disney Plus, like the animated short series, whether it be stuff like Cars on the Road or Zootopia Plus, Scrat Tales, Doug Days, Baymax, all those would also be pretty good ideas as well. So in that regard, all this is to go and pretty much say that it honestly is a very intriguing idea, and we will see how this will go, because I'm sure that this is going to really depend on the sales of either The Mandalorian or Loki or WandaVision to see if this is going to be a good idea. That, you know, Disney is experimenting with something pretty big and it could be something a little bit risky. But then again, I can imagine if this pays off, then for home media collectors, this is going to be something they will benefit ever so greatly, especially if we're going to see a little bit of a small revival from Disney to go and put out more exclusive Disney Plus exclusive content onto physical media. And if stuff like the Marvel stuff and the Star Wars stuff is just the beginning, and then later on they're going to go and keep on releasing more Disney Plus content, that is going to be exciting. And who knows what the future will hold, but I'll definitely be keeping my eye out to see what more Disney will go and release onto 4K and onto Blu-ray. But for now, it looks like these ones so far, they're just going to be releasing for the rest of the year. And if there are going to be more, we're only going to have to go and wait until 2024 to see if this is going to be something that will be worth it for Disney. So once again, if you want to go and own either Mandalorian Season 1 and 2, Loki Season 1, or WandaVision, they are available to pre-order right now. All right, so with that said and done, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, what do you all think about all these 4K suggestions and about the idea that Disney is going to be releasing their streaming exclusive content onto physical media. Are you going to go and pre-order, or you're planning to go and get stuff like Loki or WandaVision or The Mandalorian and add it to your collection? And if there are some ideas of what you would like to see be on a physical media format that is currently exclusive on Disney Plus, let me know what you think. Go and make your suggestions. All right, so let's see what we got here. Even as a Disney Plus subscriber, I'm glad Disney is still keeping physical media alive. My hope is one day we reach a point where physical, digital, and streaming media can coexist. I just wish that they still sold Blu-rays and DVDs on Shop Disney, so I wouldn't have to use Amazon as a middleman. I'm mostly hoping we would have two include that Wave 2 includes She-Hulk Attorney at Law. Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to go and say this now. Regardless of what the reception may be, if it's either from Star Wars or Marvel, especially if it's part of the MCU, I think they're definitely going to go and have a high priority. I wouldn't be surprised that by the time that we will have when Wave 2 comes in, that maybe they'll go and announce either like the Book of Boba Fett or something like She-Hulk Attorney at Law and Miss Marvel and stuff like that, or even like some of the other Star Wars series like Andor as well. Like, I think that's going to be my guess of what's going to be the next shows that will arrive on physical media. So it's either Book of Boba Fett, She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, and Andor. Or Obi-Wan, actually, you know, maybe they'll do Obi-Wan before Andor, like, come to think of it, actually. Let's see what else we got here. Not only does it make it the most sense for them to be released to release these specific shows, since they since they arguably kickstarted the popularity of the Disney Plus shows, but all in all, I'm really curious to pick these up, particularly the Marvel shows, considering I'm a huge fan of Loki and WandaVision. Hell, an inside joke I made about Norm of the North being a metaphor for communism came from a WandaVision joke. So I gotta see that joke rendered in 4K. Bonus points if they actually throw in a polar bear. You never know. That's where the bonus features comes in. Let's see. You know, while it's cool that Disney Plus streaming exclusives are getting physical media releases, I can't help but feel like it's a further spit in the face for the streaming exclusives that were taken off with no warning. They aren't going to take Loki and WandaVision off of Disney Plus, so it feels more redundant. Then again, I want physical media of Cars on the Road because Cars makes me happy, but seriously, are they going to put Willow, Mighty Ducks, and Howard on Blu-ray? No. Well, I mean, Howard is still, I believe Howard is still on Disney Plus. Like Disney, when Disney was removing the content, like there was a big stink about Howard, but after the big backlash, they decided to back away from that. But I would say for stuff like Mighty Ducks or Willow, yeah, it's highly unlikely, especially right now, like considering there's still the strike. I'll just say now, as long as the strike is still happening, there is no way that Disney is ever going to bring back stuff like Mighty Ducks or Willow in any way, shape, or form. I know it sucks to hear, but then again, I'm just saying what I think is gonna happen. All right, let's see. This is exciting. The fact that Disney is finally giving their Disney Plus shows physical releases is definitely awesome. For me, I am definitely looking forward to get WandaVision and Loki on Blu-ray and finally add these to my MCU collection. So overall, this is definitely exciting. Also, another notable on this is that they recently announced that Prey will also be getting a physical release as well. Yeah, that is true. That is definitely true. There have been a few more streaming exclusive content that are finally going to get a physical media. It is true that Prey is also going to be getting a Blu-ray and a 4K and stuff like that. But also, I did hear that Shout Factory is going to be releasing Weird, the Al Yankovic story on Blu-ray, DVD, and I think 4K, but the last one I could be wrong. But either way, Weird the Al Yankovic story is also getting a physical media, and I know I am definitely excited for that one. Let's see what else we got here. The 1950 Cinderella is one of my favorite movies Disney has ever produced. I look forward for the wave of YouTube poops that will be happening now that YouTube poop artists have physical media of Loki, Mandalorian, and Pokemon the Movie 3 Marvel Edition, which is WandaVision. It'll be a great day for DVD collectors. Now that they're on physical media, maybe they could take a break from Disney Plus so other projects can get a chance to blossom before being snipped by tax breaks. Physical media won't die, just adapt. Exactly. They're like little shrews. They're, like in the dinosaur age, yeah, shrews are like little insignificant mammals, but they're the only ones that managed to survive the entire explosion, or one of the very few animals that did survive the meteor that crash landed on Earth and made all the dinosaurs extinct. So maybe it's the same thing with physical media that, yeah, like they're pretty much becoming irrelevant nowadays, but that doesn't mean that they're going to go out of style. And who knows, maybe in the future we will see a bit more of a comeback of physical media, the same way we have seen vinyl records somehow making a big comeback. Let's see. I think I'm going to read one more comment before we go and jump onto the next story. Let's see what we have here. I would love to see all the Disney animated shorts that were exclusive on Disney Plus and put it into a new volume of shorts, just like the previous one from 2015. That would be awesome to get and to complete my collection of short films. Yeah, that would definitely be awesome as well. I would definitely be down to see that. I mean, like, whatever Disney animated content they have on streaming, I would be so down to see if they could go and bring it onto Blu-ray or a DVD or 4K or whatever. All right, so with that said, it is now time that we're going to go on our first break. And when we do come back, there is one more 4K disc that we will be discussing about, or one more 4K release that will be coming out. And in a way, it is related to Disney, but not necessarily. It's one of those that somehow Disney should have been the first, but Sony is the one that got them beat. And welcome back, everyone. Now, when it comes to our next story, yes, this is related to a 4K home media release. And this one definitely caught my attention, especially with the animation look back that I am currently working on as I am recording this. But this one, however, I feel like this is very interesting because, like I said before, you'd think Disney would be the first to go and give this particular franchise their first ever 4K release, at least on physical media, but it looks like Sony Pictures has managed to got them beat. And what I am talking about specifically is in regards to the Muppets Take Manhattan. Yes, beforehand, let me just go and clarify something and to give you a little bit of context. Back in the 1980s, back when the Muppets were still independent, Jim Henson decided to go and make TriStar the distributor of the third Muppet movie, The Muppets Take Manhattan. And ever since then, they have retained the rights ever since. And considering that TriStar soon later became Sony Pictures, that's where currently the rights of Muppets Take Manhattan is right now. And considering that Sony has also previously worked with the Jim Henson Company on a few other projects, including Muppets from Space and Kermit's Swamp Years, that's why there are a handful of Muppet projects that Sony currently owns, while the rest belongs to Disney. In a way, the Muppets are kind of like in a very similar spot to what Spider-Man is right now, where Disney has the grand majority of the rights, but in terms of the movies, well, Sony has it. And even with the Muppets, they don't own all the rights to the Muppets because Sony has the rights to certain movies. But anyways, going back into what I am talking about, yes, Sony Pictures has officially announced that they are going to go and release The Muppets Take Manhattan onto 4K and give it a 4K Ultra HD release. But not only that, they have also revealed that there is also going to be a whole bunch of brand new features, where not only is there going to be a 4K remastered version of the movie, but it is also stated here, reading from my source on Collider, It states the upcoming Blu-ray release also includes a plethora of additional bonus content, such as a brand new feature commentary from director Frank Oz, alongside an interview with the late and great Jim Henson. The upcoming release of the movie will also include Muppetisms, a feature centered on classic characters Miss Piggy, Kermit the Frog, Pepe, and Fozzie Bear. And they've also mentioned that there is going to be a release date for Muppets Take Manhattan on 4K, to which the disc will be coming out on October 24th. So there is still some time to go and grab this, but eventually, at least this is going to prep ourselves up in order to save up on some cash, where at least in between Loki and WandaVision, we can also go and get our hands onto the Muppets Take Manhattan on 4K. And let me just go and start this off by saying that honestly, I praise Sony Pictures for doing this, that they are going to give the Muppets a legitimate 4K treatment and actually give them their first ever 4K Ultra HD release. But not only that, but also including some new bonus features and actually bringing in Frank Oz to go and make a commentary, because technically the Muppets Take Manhattan is actually Frank Oz's first solo directorial debut. Now, technically, he did direct a movie beforehand where he teamed up with Jim Henson in order to make The Dark Crystal, but The Muppets Take Manhattan is the first one where he would go and actually direct all by himself, like to really get into the waters of actually being a director. Now, behind the scenes, he wasn't necessarily the easiest director to work with, but they managed to go and pull through, and it did manage to go and help out Frank to have some lessons about how to be a director and to become the legendary filmmaker that we know him today. And it's especially intriguing because nowadays it is pretty rare for Frank Oz to go and discuss about the Muppets. And even if he does nowadays, it's not necessarily positive comments regarding the current stance of the Muppets and how Disney is handling them. But then again, he's also softening things up, where he loves to look back at the work that he has done with Jim Henson, or reminiscing memories with his friends, like with Dave Goelz and stuff like that. So to see him actually go and come back and fully talk about the Muppets Take Manhattan and actually do a feature commentary on that I personally find to be really, really awesome. And not to mention many of the other bonus features that are also going to be included onto this disc. So honestly, I feel like this is something that for Muppet fans, this will be something that is going to be worthwhile and to go and keep an eye out in order to have in your collection. I know I certainly want to do that. I technically do have the Muppets Take Manhattan on Blu-ray, but I think this is going to be one of those cases where I will consider an upgrade. But then again, there is also another aspect that I look at this, and it kind of makes me a little bit upset, but specifically towards Disney, where I have to ask, how the fridge is it that Sony is the one that's taking the initiative to give the Muppets their first ever 4K Ultra HD release and not Disney? Because the thing is with Disney is that they have all the materials necessary to go and give the Muppets not just one, but probably a few 4K releases, but they're not necessarily doing anything just yet. And the wildest thing about it is that technically they have already done the hard work into remastering a few of their films, specifically the original Muppet movie and the Muppet Christmas Carol, in which you go on Disney Plus and you can actually find that you can go and watch them on 4K, that they did do a remaster, and not to mention they actually did do a very good job with the remasters. So at that point, the only thing that they have to do right now is just to go and put it out on a disc. like actually put in the effort to create a 4K disc so that they could go and release it to the masses. And I mean, some people could probably argue like, well, technically they don't do 4Ks of older movies, but the thing is they have though. Like so far, like it's not necessarily a lot that they have done, at least in terms of the older releases. Like if you don't count any of the like newly released movies and stuff like that. But in terms of their older films, they have gradually been putting out some films. And I'm not just talking about some of their animated classics like The Little Mermaid or Cinderella and stuff like that, but even movies such as Hocus Pocus have also been getting a 4K release. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I did hear that eventually there is going to be a Nightmare Before Christmas 4K release. And if they haven't announced it yet, then I'm sure it's going to be announced sometime soon, because I feel like that's going to be one of those things that will be inevitable. So by that point, I'm kind of surprised they haven't done anything with the Muppets, especially like with the Muppet Christmas Carol, for example. Like I know they actually put in a lot of hard work in order to remaster the Muppets Christmas Carol, including bringing back the lost song When Love Is Gone. Like they really went into that, you know, they went and put excuse me folks, been tripping on my own words, but they put in that much effort into restoring that movie. So by that point, I don't see what's holding them back from actually releasing those films onto 4K. Like, okay, I can imagine some people may argue, well, like maybe the original Muppet movie ain't that popular, but what about the Muppet Christmas Carol? Like that, amongst all the others, I can imagine can actually do some decent sales if they would go and put that out in 4K. And by the way, thank you for that subscription, Betocast. So in that regard, how is it that Disney is kind of holding back on the Muppets to go and release them on physical media? Like, I know like they've already done a big batch by releasing a lot of the older ones, rather it be the original Muppet movie or even doing that Blu-ray combo pack of the Great Muppet Caper and the Muppets Treasure Island. But still though, like I think the Muppets are kind of due to actually have a 4K release, and especially when it comes to like with Muppets Take Manhattan, at least Sony actually does have the attention, you know, like at least they are giving Muppets the attention that they've, you know, that they kind of need so that they could legitimately have a 4K release. And I think now it's the time for Disney to go and wake up. Like if they are in the mood of putting things out in 4K, like if, you know, if Disney is going to go to that extent of actually releasing Disney Plus exclusive shows and giving them a 4K release, then I don't see why they wouldn't go and give the Muppets a 4K release. Now, I understand it would be way too much to ask if they would go and put the entirety of the Muppet Show on 4K. That might be a bit much. Like at least a Blu-ray release, I would definitely be happy with that for sure. Could somebody go and ask Shout Factory to go and make that happen? Like, honestly, like that would be like a total dream to actually own the entire Muppet Show either on DVD or on Blu-ray. But like at least give like the Muppet movies a 4K release. Like even if like you're waiting for some special occasion, like you know, like just give it out. Like give it for the fans. I mean, the Muppets are still relevant. They are still very popular. They're still very much beloved. You know, like I know like this is a whole discussion and that this subject matter like is much greater than what I am talking about. It's like much greater than just this. And especially when this is regarding the fact of how Disney is handling the Muppets as a brand, as an IP, and that they're not giving them as much attention when compared to stuff like Star Wars or Marvel or whatever. And I know that this year in 2023, they have been, they did put in some effort, especially with the release of the Muppets Mayhem, which is a fun show, by the way. And yes, I even bought the vinyl record, which apparently the record itself has been breaking records on the Billboard, or at least have been topping some charts. But still, though, honestly, I think this is just another example as to how Disney is not handling the Muppets greatly on as an IP when compared to some of the others, especially when you have another company like Sony Pictures suddenly stepping in and starting to give the Muppets a milestone, like giving them their first ever 4K release. A record that a lot of people would probably think that Disney would go and do, but no, since Sony has a few other Muppet movies that they have in their collection, they decided, you know what, might as well go and do it. I mean, we got Frank Oz on the phone, who's happy to go and fully talk about it on a commentary, so why not go and make a full-on 4K release? So yeah, honestly, this is just something to go and let off a bit of steam in regards to the way that Disney has been handling the Muppets as an IP, and that hopefully we will see more physical media releases of the Muppets, rather it be on 4K or even just on Blu-ray or DVD or whatever. But hopefully with the Muppets Take Manhattan, it could actually be a good start, and hopefully maybe it's a wake-up call for Disney to say like, hey, people are still interested in the Muppets. Maybe you should go and do more things and maybe release more stuff from them. Maybe not necessarily like new shows or whatever, but bring out more of the classics, bring out more merch or bring out more physical media copies of stuff like the Muppet Show, or even we've already talked about this before, but bring out like a physical copy of Muppets Mayhem, put that out on 4K, or even bring out the Muppet movie, or even like some of the other ones like Muppets Christmas Carol or The Great Muppet Caper, Muppets Treasure Island, or even some of the newer ones like the 2011 Muppets or Muppets Most Wanted. Like, put that out on 4K as well. This is just, this is all to say that hopefully we will have more Muppets in the future, and that Disney will give more attention to the Muppets. All right, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and it's time that I ask you all, how do you feel about the Muppets Take Manhattan coming onto 4K Ultra HD? Are you planning to also go and get this? Are you just going to wait a little bit? And how do you feel right now about how Disney is handling the Muppets as an IP or as a brand? Let me know what you think on all this. Let's see now. Funny enough, I never owned Muppets Take Manhattan on Blu-ray in my collection, but seeing it getting a 4K release by Sony, given that they own distribution rights to this movie, I'm definitely gonna get this when it comes out. I don't know if Disney will do the same for the rest of the Muppet movies they own, but I do feel doubtful. Kudos to Sony for being the first to do this. Also, don't be surprised if Sony gives a 4K release to Muppets from Space as well before Disney does so with their films. I don't know. I feel a bit iffy on that. Like, okay, Muppets Take Manhattan, I understand, especially when you're gonna have like some of the big stars of Muppets Take Manhattan. Like, if you're gonna get the director of the movie, like if you're getting Frank Oz to come back and talk about the Muppets, okay, I understand how that alone can be a major deal in order to go and release the movie onto 4K. That I get it. Muppets from Space, on the other hand, that is something that's not as well reputable as Muppets Take Manhattan. And there's a lot of Muppet fans out there who state that, who would say that it is among the weakest of the Muppet movies. So I don't know, like just thinking in terms of sales, I don't know if Muppets from Space would go and perform as well as Muppets Take Manhattan, especially like if like if you don't have those extra sedatives that Manhattan has, like with the commentary from Frank Oz. I don't know if it would even be worth it to go and have a Muppets from Space 4K. Let's see what else we got here. I'm on the opinion that the Muppets Take Manhattan is up there as one of the funniest Muppet movies, so to say this will be a fine addition to my collection is an understatement. Though while I'm intrigued by the bonus features, I'm just going to say right now, this is all going to be worth it to see Gonzo yeeting himself into the street for no reason, other to say because he's freaking Gonzo in beautiful 4K. That is definitely true. I mean, like, considering that it is Gonzo, and like he has a lot of moments where he's been yeeted, rather it be on the stage at the Muppet Theater or in any of the other movies. Like, I'm sure there are plenty of moments where like you could see Gonzo being yeeted in crystal clear 4K, regardless if it's Muppets Take Manhattan on its 4K Ultra HD, or even like something like in the Muppet movie on Disney Plus, since that is technically 4K as well. Let's see, what else do we got here? This is definitely something that should have happened sooner. The Muppets Take Manhattan is definitely a great movie, and the fact that it's coming out in 4K is great. So overall, I'm glad this is finally happening. And honestly, I do feel this says a lot about how Disney really hasn't been handling the Muppets that great, and how it's kind of worrying. Yeah, like it's, you know, it's a bit iffy that they have often been treated as an afterthought. So I don't know, like it's tough to say what more can we do in order to convince Disney that the Muppets are absolutely worth it, that they are a valuable franchise, that they are a valuable IP or a brand or whatever. You know, it's tough to say, but like, yeah, the Muppets deserve to have better treatment than what Disney is currently doing right now. It's all like, I'm not going to say that it's like full on negligent, but there is a part of me that feels like Disney is often ignoring the Muppets in favor of like the popular kids like Marvel and Star Wars and stuff like that. Let's see, what else do we have here? I actually love The Muppets Take Manhattan so much. It's easily one of my favorite Muppet movies, and the most relatable since I did relate to the Muppets in this movie. Having this in 4K will definitely be a must to get. Also, older movies restoring for 4K will are always going to look amazing, and since it is Sony, they will do a phenomenal job with it. I know it because I got Ghostbusters in 4K, and it's just as beautiful as ever. Okay, admittedly, I'm not as familiar with how Sony restores their movies, but if the restoration work is great, like what you say it is with Ghostbusters, then maybe this will be a very positive sign that they'll also do a beautiful job with Muppets Take Manhattan. Let's see, what else do we have here? What other comments are there to read? Let's see. Okay, I am confused as to on why Sony owns some Muppet movies and not Disney. I guess another Spider-Man issue, but anyways, I am happy that Sony decided to release the classic films on 4K Blu-ray. Hope the studios will release more 4K films. Well, it's like I said before right at the beginning, just to make a long story short, considering that there were a few movies that Sony Pictures has distributed or that they have collaborated with the Jim Henson Company on, such as Muppets Take Manhattan or Muppets from Space or Kermit's Swamp Years, they own the distribution rights to those specific films. It never really moved around, and it's not necessarily the Jim Henson Company who kept the rights during that whole time. So that is why when they sold it to Disney, it was still with Sony. So it is another Spider-Man scenario where the Spider-Man rights moved to Disney, but not necessarily the film rights because they stayed with Sony Pictures. Let's see. I think I'll just read, from the looks of it, I'll read one more comment and then we'll have another break. So let's see now. Muppets Take Manhattan was the second most dominant Muppet movie of my childhood behind The Muppets Christmas Carol. It's not my favorite Muppet project, but at this point, I'm just, it just happens that a Muppet movie is now in 4K. I think I'll be taking a shot at getting this DVD to listen to the good old Filthy Frank's commentary. As for Disney, for the love of Jim, stop neglecting the Muppets and put them on the bottom of your pecking order. Oh, and putting them on the bottom of their pecking order. They're not fool's gold. They're golden fools. Muppets yeeting is gold. All right, so we're gonna go and have another break, and when we do come back, don't worry, we do have other things that we will discuss more so than just physical media, and the next subject that we have will be a lot more interesting, as we are gonna have a significant update as to what's been going on with the strike. So stay tuned for that. And welcome back, everyone. Now, when it comes to our next story, we are going to be going back to the big Hollywood strike. Yes, what seems to be the never-ending strike from SAG-AFTRA and the WGA. Yes, we are still in the midst of a massive strike that is going on. And the reason why it is still happening is mainly because of the stubbornness of Hollywood studios, or the amalgamation of all the studios and all the executives together, in which they are called the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Production. And so, like, even recently, there have been some negotiations that the WGA would try to go and do in order to give, more benefits to writers and stuff like that. But it feels like with every new suggestion that the Writers Guild of America tries to do with the AMPTP, it just doesn't work out. You know, it's always the case of like, okay, can we go and do this? Okay, you don't like that. What about this? Can we have this? Okay, you don't want that. Okay, you guys don't like that either. Okay, well, how about this? What about if we would go and have just a fraction of a percentage of your earnings? Not a percentage, just a tiny fraction, like 0.02% of your earnings. Can we at least have that? And this is exactly why the strike is still going on. Because no matter what demands they want to go and make, the AMPTP are just going to say no until they ultimately have what they want. Like, they really are being that stubborn about it. But the thing is that so far, the more that this strike is dragging on, the more the AMPTP is being antagonized, and that the more that at least the supporters of the strike, view the executives of Hollywood as just full-on cartoon villains. So, what do they do in this situation? Well, they're gonna go and hire a brand new PR firm. That is the latest thing that Hollywood studios are currently trying to do. Specifically, hiring the PR company, the Levinson Group, in the hopes that it will go and make their public relations a bit better, so that the image of the AMPTP will go and improve as the strike is still going on. And to give you a little bit more detail about this new PR firm that they have hired, it is stated here, reading from my source on The Hollywood Reporter, as it says, it is led by namesake Molly Levinson, a former political director at CNN and CBS turned strategic advisor for corporate clients with reputable and risk concerns. She's also known for her work on behalf of the restaurant Comet Ping Pong, countering Pizzagate, as well as the U.S. women's national soccer team in its campaign for pay equity. Now, one thing to go and add into this entire situation is that technically, the AMPTP is not the only ones who are getting a brand new PR firm. There have been some others as well, to which they went and got a new PR firm to go and help things out in their favor. More specifically with SAG-AFTRA, where it says right over here, the studios aren't alone in enlisting new PR reinforcements for the current standoff. SAG-AFTRA has hired Precision Strategies, led by Stephanie Cutter, who served as deputy campaign manager for Barack Obama's 2012 presidential run. And keep in mind, I know it seems a little bit weird that now that they're bringing in former political PR people to come in and actually help things out in the situation. But technically, this is all part of the process. This is not the first time that we have actually seen this, where Hollywood studios and groups would rely on, political PR people to step in and help resolve the situation. There's even one paragraph over here to which it actually states that the AMPTP has a history of reaching beyond the entertainment industry to the political world for assistance in the midst of a strike emergency. During the 2007 and 2008 WGA stoppage, the association brought on Chris Lehane and Mark Fabiani. Hopefully I said their name right, or maybe I butchered them so much. If it's the latter, then I am sorry. The Democratic Party operatives, who had also previously done work for the Screen Actors Guild in 2002 during its impasse with the Association of Talent Agents. So that's currently the main situation that's been happening with the writer strike and the actor strike, is that the studio executives have hired a brand new PR firm in order to go and help resolve the situation, or to go and help clear their image while the strike is going on. And it's kind of funny in a way, because it almost feels like the AMPTP is kind of like indirectly admitting that their PR absolutely sucks. That they know for a fact that their image just looks absolutely terrible, and that they have reached the point that most people kind of view them as like cartoonish villains. Like, we're not talking about like regular bad guys or anything like that. We mean legitimate villains that you would find in animated shows. Like, we're talking about stuff like Mr. Burns or Glomgold in DuckTales. So and we do have like several examples of that. Rather it be like through the comments of some executives like Bob Iger from Disney, or Ted Sarandos from Netflix, or David Zaslav from Warner Brothers, and several other examples. But then there is also that one instance, you may remember that one really stupid moment where the executives tried to imitate and threaten the writers by saying that they will let them strike until they become homeless, and that they would lose their apartments and stuff like that, so that they end up having a bit of a leverage when the negotiation time comes. So there was also that stupid incident that really went bad for them. So it's at the point where now they know that most people absolutely hate them, and that the best thing that they can do is, well, technically the best thing they can do is just cave into the demands of the actors and the writers. But instead of that, they're just going to go and hire a brand new PR firm, which is honestly absolutely ridiculous. And not just that, but also the fact that they brought in someone that honestly, it feels like if the Levinson group would do their job properly, they would just go and tell the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers to just go and just pay them what they want. Just do their demands. Just say yes to what they're asking for, and just have it be done with. Especially with the fact that apparently with the Levinson group, with especially with Molly Levinson, that she's known as like the woman who went against Pizzagate, which honestly, I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound very promising, considering that there are still a whole bunch of Trump supporters who unironically believe that the Pizzagate conspiracy is real. I don't know if she really did that much of a great job, or especially the irony of the fact that she is the PR firm that was in charge of the US's women's national soccer team in terms of getting pay equity. you know, like the fact that like, yeah, you're on the other side in terms of pay equity right now, there's something about it that doesn't necessarily make sense right there. So yeah, I can imagine this is going to be a case that I wouldn't be surprised if the Levinson Group's own PR is going to be going down along with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. It's at the point where it's like getting a little ridiculous. And not only that, but like with everything that's been going on, I feel like it's at the point that the strike has been going on for so long right now that it's already been like a month and a half since the actors went on strike, and it's been since May that the writers have been on strike. And hold on a sec, considering that we're entering September now, it's been like, wait, hold on, June, July, August. It's like the writers are going to be entering their 4th month into going on strike. It kind of makes, you know, honestly, I'm at the point where I am questioning what are the executives' motives right now. Like what, you know, what is it about really for the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers? I know a lot of people are going to go and immediately answer that, oh, well, that's easy. It's just because of money, you know? They want to keep as much money as possible and all that kind of stuff. But keep in mind the fact that like we are like on the strike for so long, and we've already been seeing so many consequences happen where now it really is starting to go and cost these companies pretty badly, to the point that we have been starting to see some delays, like rather it be Sony Pictures delaying a whole bunch of their movies onto 2024, or that or there have been like a bunch of projects that have been canceled. Like a good example is Disney, to which it has recently been revealed that the Spiderwick Chronicles series, despite the fact that it's already finished, that it's already, you know, like it's all prepared to be released, somehow they decided that they're not going to air it on Disney Plus, that show is going to shop elsewhere, you know? I did hear rumors that apparently Paramount Plus might go and pick up that Spiderwick Chronicles series, but, you know, they're at the point where, like, you could tell that they are losing money, and some people could even say that right now, the AMPTP is losing more money than they would if they accepted the deal from actors and writers. So honestly, this is why I kind of question, are the executives continuing this because of money, or is this a pride thing? Like, are they really aiming to go and, you know, like, are they aiming to go and win the argument, and that they end up in a situation where they beat the writers and the actors? Is it more of a pride situation where they're just so stubborn that they want, you know, that at this point the title of winning is more important than whatever profits that they would go and make? You know, like, it's pretty much at the point where I wouldn't be surprised if the executives right now, they're kind of like in a mentality of like the common Twitter argument, where it's not necessarily about who is right or trying to legitimately solve a situation. It's now becoming this, you know, this big shouting match where they're just shouting between one or the other, and the first one who gives up, the first one who gives up and blocks the other ends up winning the whole argument. You know, like, it's that kind of mentality. They just want to say that they won the entire argument instead of actually resolving the situation, and they want to go and do this regardless of how much money it takes in order to go and take them down. Like, they could be losing like twice as much money than like whatever they would have to pay the writers and the actors and stuff like that. But at that point, they, you know, it's about their pride. It's about their entitlement. It's about their position in Hollywood for them to be the big bosses, and that they're so desperate to have the actors and writers do what they say. And I mean, I know this sounds like a weird, wacky, and crazy theory, but honestly, that's just my opinion on how I feel about where this is going on, because with the fact that the strike has been going on for so long, and we're already seeing studios like cutting down costs while the strike is happening, you know, I kind of question, like, are they doing this for the money, or are they doing this for the pride of it all? Is it for their integrity, for their entitlement of feeling like big bosses and that they don't want anyone to go and tell them what to do? I don't know. It just feels like a big mystery to me. And especially with the fact that they had to go and hire a brand new PR firm for this situation. Yeah, and I feel like overall with this entire situation, like, there is a part of me that I will admit that I am tired of seeing this strike still going on. And like many other actors and many other writers, like, we do hope that there will come a day that this entire strike is over and that they will have demands that will be met, and that at the end of it all, they can actually have a better future, not just for themselves, but for future actors and writers and stuff like that. Like, we do hope that there will come a day that this strike will be done with so that, you know, people can get back to work. But it is still very much important. In fact, it is still top priority that the livelihoods of writers and actors can be safe. Like, it is still highly important that writers and actors can still have decent pay by doing what they love to do, that their jobs can still manage to be livable, that they can go and actually afford housing, groceries, paying bills, and all that kind of stuff while maintaining their jobs as writers and actors, and not to mention having job security so that they can ensure that AI won't be replacing their roles, and that studios won't be so desperate to cut down corners and that they would go and replace them, regardless if they're like big name celebrities or even if they're just background actors, that they would end up being replaced by AI. So hopefully that will not happen. So that's why that's why we have to ensure that the strike keeps on going, as you know, like, until the day comes that studios accept for writers and actors to have livable wages, to have job security, then this strike has to still continue. Like, chances are, maybe this is going to continue until 2024. Maybe this is going to end before Christmas comes or something like that. Or hell, maybe in September it's going to be over and that they will agree to a brand new deal. Who the fridge knows? But at this point right now, I don't know. I just feel like with this entire situation, it just feel, like, it is tiring, but we still have to go and keep up the fight, regardless of what the motives of the others of the AMPTP may be. Either if, like, they're so desperate to keep all the money to themselves, or they're just doing it for the pride of saying that they won the argument. Who the fridge knows? All right, so with that said and done, I would like to go into the chat wall, and now I would like to ask you, how do you feel about the current stance of the actors and the writer strike? Are you tired as well that this is still happening? Are you tired of studio executives still being desperate to try to make things go their way and still letting this strike continue? Let me know what you all think about this current situation. Okay. Let's see. This isn't a reliable source, but I read a Tumblr speculation that the reason the studios aren't giving in is because most likely it would mean they would need to be transparent about view numbers on streaming, potentially opening a lawsuit from investors and shareholders. Again, it's from a Tumblr post, but I wouldn't be surprised if there is a fear that if they fold by giving writers and actors proper pay, it would mean that they could be lying about the numbers. And I mean, honestly, that is just a theory. And I mean, like, there's no confirmation if that is the case. But personally, I do find that to be highly credible, because there have been a history of executives legitimately lying to their investors and lying to their people about their numbers, always stating that it's definitely going well, when in reality it wasn't. In fact, that's the current reason as to why Disney is in a lawsuit right now. Not just Disney, but some of the big Disney executives and Bob Chapek, in which they're being sued by investors because during Chapek's time as CEO, he had kept on lying to investors in terms of the stance on Disney Plus, where he would keep on saying, yeah, the numbers are going great, the numbers are going beautifully, but in reality, nah, Disney Plus was in a pretty rough shape, and it was why they had been losing money. So again, I feel like that could be a pretty credible case. Like, I don't know if that would be true, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that would legit be the reason, because then they would have to expose the truth about how their numbers are actually doing. Let's see now. At this point, I'm just convinced that the AMPTP is not paying the writers and actors just because they are scared to lose. Despite the fact that the studios and their image have been going massively downhill because of these strikes, they just want to win what they possibly think is a war. I want the strike to end, but if it's going to take Hollywood to burn them to do the right thing, then let these strikes last as long as they need to do. Oh yeah, exactly. Let's see now. The way the AMPTP had been acting during this section of the strike hasn't been just evil, but it's been cartoon bad guy evil. So this new PR team has a heap of work to do. Seriously, did you see Ted Sardo's latest comment? There's no coming back from that, man. With that said, the strike is somewhat worth it to see discussing films beating the CEO's asses in the quote tweets. Seriously, unhinged discussing films is the best discussing films. Yeah, I did hear about it. And to give you all a little bit of context, apparently in one of the recent negotiations, the executives actually made some controversial comments that actually slipped to the public, and is making their PR look bad. Like, apparently it was either the writers or the actors, most likely the writers, that they offered a brand new deal. And you had Bob Chapek, who said that he was offended by it. And then you got Ted Sarandos, where he said that he was worried about the strike and the negotiations that the writers and actors are doing, because it may set a brand new precedence for not just the writers and actors in America, but from all around the world, since especially Netflix and other companies like Amazon have been doing a lot of international productions where they rely on a lot of like non-union work, or to have like negotiations go their way, especially in Canada. So that's one thing I would love to see, is for a lot of Canadians, and especially a lot of Canadian productions, to go and take note on what's been going on with the strike, so that we can have a brand new standard in which Netflix or Disney or Amazon or Apple or whatever, that they would have to go and abide. Let's see, what else do we have here? I think at this rate, the studios are going to cave into the demands of the writers and actors, and potentially the visual effects workers, since they know that they will lose more money the more they keep being greedy. I feel like the strike is going to be a historical moment in Hollywood history, since it will show future generations who will be abused by the system, and that if they can band together, and then they can make the changes they want to make. P.S. I hope David Zaslav gets fired as CEO at Warner Brothers. Yeah, I mean, like this, considering that this strike has been going on for so long. In fact, I think for the writer strike, it has been going much longer than the 2007 and 2008 one. Like, I think this is definitely going to be something that will be written down. It will be written down in the history books. This is going to be something that future generations are going to take note, so that they won't be abused by the system, that they won't be abused by executives. So yeah, what we are seeing is history being unfurled, and there will be a lot of lessons that future writers, future actors, and even future filmmakers in general, they will be taking note, so that they can actually have the advantage when it's their turn to go and make demands to executives. And even right now, like even in the near future, we could see this happen, especially when animators are paying attention and taking notes onto what's been going on with the strike and what's been working so far for actors and writers, so that when it's their time to renegotiate a brand new deal, then it's either they will make heavy demands, and if they're not met, then they will go on strike as well. All right, let's see what other comments do we have here. Let's see. I think I might... Did I read this one? Just because... No. Okay, yeah, I read that one already. Let's see. What other comments? Okay. Yeah, there we go. Insert clip of Dr. Jim Carrey Eggman going, "Oh, come on!" It's obvious the executives did not learn crap from the story of the Pied Piper. This is a prime example of money, pride, and spite. They're like people who die in heat strokes because it costs more money to run ACs. X's are acting like those three billionaires that tried to explore the Titanic earlier this year. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh boy, definitely a dark example, but technically there is some truth to it. Let's see what we got. I think I'll read two more comments before the next break. So they could pay for a new PR firm, but they can't pay for writers and actors? The AMPTP is either too spiteful or too prideful to even lose this fight, thinking that they can control the workers without any opposition, but with the visual effects workers very likely to enter the protests as well, it's only inevitable for the studios to surrender to their demands. At this point, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Exactly, and considering that we are seeing more and more visual effects workers now entering the union for the first time, like now we saw Marvel Studios have voted that they want to enter into the union, and even as I'm recording this today, they have actually announced that the visual effects workers at Walt Disney Pictures have announced that they want to have an election to go and enter into to go and vote if they want to enter into a union. I think we are legitimately seeing a brand new precedence that now more and more people are seeing the value of unions. And I think that is the big lesson that we are going to take from all this. Like, we are going to see how important it is to have unions. And this is not just a lesson for the entertainment industry, but just in the workforce in general, how valuable it is to have unions so that your well-being and that your demands in order to have like a good, decent living, not just financially, but mentally as well, is highly important. You know, it's, you know, like it's a matter of money, mind, and soul to ensure that, you know, your life is doing pretty well in whatever you may work on. All right, let's see what we got. We got one more comment. I don't know what is with the producer's end goal here, but they should have learned what UPS did in terms of giving in to the workers. If you don't know, UPS workers almost went on strike before UPS came in to resolve the oh, excuse me, before they could resolve this similar situation as a UPS worker myself. I'm getting tired of this crap, but if they don't want to lose money, then give the writers and actors their demands. Exactly. And that was that was something else that was like major news, that UPS was like ready to go onto strike, which would have had severe consequences onto the US and maybe even to the world, with the fact that, like anything that people would go and ship would not even be delivered anyways. So at that point, yeah, like that's why I would keep on questioning if this is a matter of either finances or if this is just a matter of pride for the executives. Who the fridge knows? All right, so we're going to go into one more break. And with our next story, I'm just going to say right now, it is possibly the biggest news. I saved the biggest and best one for last, and we will have a lot of intriguing comments about even more movie delays. So stay tuned for that. All right, people. It is now time that we will cap off this episode with the grand finale. And for this grand finale, we will be sticking a little bit more to the theme of the writers and actors strike, considering that this is something that is kind of a consequence to it. Now, we have seen some of the actions and heard about the actions that studios have taken, and even for some other people outside of studios that they had to go and do, especially for actors and for social media people. Even I myself, I had to sacrifice talking about trailers onto the podcast. Even like I am aware that Netflix put out a trailer of Leo, the Netflix movie with Adam Sandler, but can't really go and talk about it because technically that would be promotion for Netflix. So honestly, I'm just going to go and skip that one entirely. So with that said, though, there is something that honestly I am surprised that we haven't seen a whole lot of because of the strike, and that is in regards to delays. Now, personally, I thought we're going to see a whole bunch of delays because of the strike. Now, we know that Sony Pictures has already done a massive list of strikes, that they moved a whole bunch of their movies onto 2024, and even taking the schedule away from Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. But then again, the reason for Beyond the Spider-Verse being indefinitely delayed is not just because of the strike. And if you don't know why, well, let's just say go ask Phil Lord and Chris Miller with their ineptitude on not reading any storyboards and stuff like that. But anyways, we did get an announcement on more delays, but admittedly, it's not necessarily as big as expected. And what I am talking about is in regards to Warner Brothers. And Warner Brothers has revealed that they have delayed one of the biggest upcoming movies for the rest of this year, Dune Part 2. Now, originally, Dune Part 2 was supposed to be coming out on November 3rd, but it looks like they are going to be pushing it back, where now it is going to be released next year on March 15th. But because of that delay, it did a tiny bit of a domino effect, where originally on March 15th, that was supposed to be the release of Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. But that delay isn't necessarily all that big. It's not like it was heavily pushed back. It was only delayed by about a month, where now The New Empire is going to be released on April 12th. However, there was a movie that was supposed to be scheduled for that time, in which it is the animated feature Lord of the Rings: The War of the Rohirrim, in which that was supposed to be coming out in April of next year. But now that one actually got a big pushback, where now it is going to be released on December 13th of next year. And believe it or not, those are the only major delays that they have done. The rest, it looks like they are going to be keeping. And the biggest surprise of that is regarding the ones that are going to be released in December, especially when Warner Brothers has not one, not two, but 3 movies that they are going to be putting out in December in a span of just 10 days. First, they got Wonka, in which that is still going to be released on December 15th. Then you got Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, which that one is going to be coming out on December 20th. And then finally, you got another film adaptation of The Color Purple, in which that one is going to be coming out on Christmas Day. So that's the big news that we got over here. Actually, there is one more thing to go and mention, and that is in regards to why they went and actually did so. And there actually is a little bit of an explanation. Reading from my source here, according to The Hollywood Reporter, once again, as it states, insiders say Legendary, the studio that is making the Dune films, couldn't wait anymore before pulling the plug, considering that Warner's would have needed to begin marketing Dune 2 in earnest by early September. Insiders are hopeful that the additional time will allow the cast to participate in a worldwide marketing push as originally intended. The film's new release date will be supported with a full-fledged IMAX release. March is a prime corridor to launch event picks thanks to spring break and the ensuing Easter holiday. So that's pretty much the big thing that we got. It's the fact that Dune Part 2 has now been delayed, as well as a couple of other movies, but we don't necessarily see a big consequence of like Warner Brothers pushing a whole bunch of their movies, delaying it onto 2024 and stuff like that, and leaving most of their 2023 lineup to go and be empty. and that's honestly very shocking to go and find from other studios. Like, yeah, like so far we only had Sony Pictures caved in, and for the most part, I guess you could say it's really Legendary was the one that caved in with Dune, and then Warner Brothers is just trying to go and adapt with like a few other films, and that's pretty much it. It's just like a little minor inconvenience that Warner Brothers had. And yet, I was surprised that we don't hear from any of the other studios not doing much delays, especially Disney. Like, I have heard that there have been rumors that Disney was considering the possible idea that they would go and delay a whole bunch of their movies and move it onto like 2024 or something. But that doesn't really seem to be the case. In fact, recently, they have confirmed that Wish, the next Disney animated film, is still going to be coming out in November. So that is actually a very positive sign. And it looks like there's still hope that Disney's big reason to go and celebrate the 100th anniversary of the company is still going to happen on American Thanksgiving. So we are still, so yeah, like even though we've seen a few delays, it's not necessarily as big, and studios are still going to be okay to go and release their movies, despite the fact that we have seen a little bit of consequences in terms of how the movies are currently performing, even though there's a strike going on right now. And there have been some movies that some people did say that they have been affected by the strike. I know the Haunted Mansion was a massive casualty on that one, especially when its marketing heavily relied on having big name celebrities like Jamie Lee Curtis, Owen Wilson, and Danny DeVito. I know there might be some other reasons, but like I know like a massive one as to why it flopped at the box office is because of the strike. And then there's also Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, where it is performing decently, but then again, some people have stated that it could have done better if it weren't for the strike. Like, if the actors were legitimately there to go and actually promote the film, like Seth Rogen or John Cena or Ice Cube or Maya Rudolph or whatever, like maybe it would have helped the movie out to go and make a bit more money. But it looks like the consequences are not necessarily that severe. And in terms of film schedules, they are still keeping it intact. They're still letting it continue as is. And in the case of Dune Part 2, like, yeah, that is going to be a bit of a massive sacrifice, especially for the November lineup. And like I said before, I know for a fact that Dune Part 2 was one of the most anticipated movies for the end of the year, which really does clear up a lot of the schedule and like a major reason for people to come in and like go and watch movies for November. But then again, like there are still plenty of others that are going to be on at the time. In fact, I would even say it's going to be very beneficial for Disney for the November lineup, considering that they do have like not just Wish but also the Marvels that's going to be coming out in November. So I could see that it's going to be something that Disney will take advantage of, and that it will give Disney a whole lot less competition so that their movies can actually help out and legitimately thrive while the end of the year will happen and during the holiday season. So at least there is that, that it could be, you know, there is a benefit to some others as well. But I will say that when I was looking into this news, and when I did hear that Dune Part 2 is going to be delayed to March of 2024, that's when I realized a pretty dark reality, where the more I think about it, the more I realize, oh my God, we got a serious problem. And this is legitimately a case in which Hollywood has not learned their lesson, and we are going to see a critical mistake happen once again. You guys remember what happened in June of this year, where there are way too many blockbuster films released at the same time in that 1 month alone? And there have been several movies that turn out to be box office bombs because of it, like Indiana Jones, Dial of Destiny, and The Flash. I think the same thing is going to happen again in March of 2024. And the reason why I say this is because if you think about the schedule and what movies are going to be coming out, once again, there's going to be way too many big name titles that are going to be released. Like, think about it, folks. It's not just Dune Part 2, because there's also going to be Pixar's Elio, The Fall Guy starring Ryan Gosling. Then there's also going to be Kung Fu Panda 4. Then you also got A Quiet Place Day 1. And then after that, you also got the Snow White remake. And then after that, you also got Ghostbusters Afterlife. And those are just the big name movies that are going to be coming out. This doesn't even count some of the other like smaller releases or B movies or limited releases and stuff like that. As you can see, the schedule is going to be way too crammed up. And it's going to be at the point where I can guarantee you not all these movies are going to be successful. And it's either these films have to really captivate audiences to have them go check it out, or it's going to be at the point where these movies have to be massively critically praised in order to grab audiences' attention. Otherwise, they are going to lose money. And yes, I do mean the sequel to Ghostbusters Afterlife. Now, I'm just going to go and I'm just going to be making predictions. And some people are even adding like there have been, someone even mentioned in the chat wall that it even happened March of this year where there was like Creed 3, John Wick Chapter 4, Scream 6, and the Dungeons & Dragons movie. And not all of those films became successful. In fact, I do believe Dungeons & Dragons, despite being well received and despite getting positive reviews, it ended up flopping at the box office. And going back into March of next year, I'm just going to be doing predictions. I could totally be wrong with what I say, but honestly, I feel like there's just going to be a handful of films that are going to be successful. Like, honestly, the only ones that I think are most likely going to become a hit, like, I think Dune Part 2 is going to be safe. I think that one is going to be fine. Considering the success the first Dune movie had, I think Dune Part 2 is going to be okay. And then I'll also say, and this is not like a major guarantee, but I would say maybe Elio as well is going to be fine. I mean, considering what we have recently seen with Elemental, where it ended up becoming one of the most surprising hits of the summer, and that the Elio teaser trailer did end up getting some positive reception, I do think Elio is going to be fine. I think it's going to be a movie in which, as long as it does get like pretty, if it does get strong positive reviews and positive word of mouth, I think it's actually going to do okay. I think Disney could actually turn a profit with that film. But all the others, I'm just going to say, I feel very doubtful. I feel doubtful about Kung Fu Panda 4, unless like it turns out to be as amazing as the previous Kung Fu Panda films. I feel honestly pretty hesitant about that one. A Quiet Place Day 1, I mean, if it does, if it has a small budget like the first movie, maybe it's going to be okay. But if it has like a proportionate size budget like the sequel, then I don't know, like it's going to be hard to imagine it could turn out a profit. The Snow White remake, I don't know, that feels like it's a 50-50 situation. I mean, it could either be it could either turn out a profit like the Little Mermaid remake, or it could flop like the Dumbo remake. Who the fridge knows? And I'll even say, like, the sequel to Ghostbusters Afterlife, I feel like that one might not have a chance to become a hit, and it could end up flopping, mainly because of the fact that it is going to be released in late March, and it will be at the point where people are just going to feel tired of all these big releases coming out again and again and again and again. So the fatigue might be a massive disadvantage to that feature. And so in all that regard, I just feel like at this point, like, again, we are just seeing Hollywood cramming up blockbusters all packaged in 1 month. Like, I do understand the explanation of the fact that, like, studios want to take advantage of spring break, and that they also want to go and take advantage of, like, Easter coming up, and that it can prove that it'll be, like, a pretty popular time in order to make revenue, and hopefully they would go and have their movie be the next Super Mario movie, just make over $1 billion during that time. But I don't know. It just feels a little too crammed. It just makes me feel a bit worried that once again we are seeing Hollywood just making the same mistake again and again and again, where they're just overstuffing cinemas with big name movies to the point where it's going to be a guarantee that they will be losing money and they only have themselves to blame. It's not something that they could go and pitch the problem onto the writers or the actors or the animators or the visual effects team or whatever. They only have themselves to blame, and they have the entire system to go and blame as well, where they end up, like it feels like a situation of too many cooks in the kitchen. When you have so many big name movies, people don't have the time, and people especially don't have the money to go and check out what new big release is coming out again and again and again. People will be at the point where they will have to go and pick and choose which movies that they would want to go and actually check out, which ones that they would have to deem is actually worth their time. So that's honestly my big thoughts on this entire situation. But considering that the main subject technically is in regards to Dune Part 2, again, I feel like that's the one is most likely going to be fine. And I mean, if they're not going to be released in November, then fine. I'll be patient. I'll wait until March when that movie does come out. And with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and now I would like to know what you think on this. How do you feel about Warner Brothers delaying Dune Part 2 and a few other movies as well, and the current stance of what's been going on with how the schedule of March 2024 is going to be? And one more thing I almost forgot to go and mention is that technically it would be wise if there are some companies that would go and plan to delay some of their releases for March of 2024. Like, I would perfectly understand if it's because that schedule is just way too crammed up, but then again, we'll just wait and see. I mean, we don't know what studios are going to be thinking about. Let's see. Futurama just released an episode that was a Dune parody, so Dune fans can wait. As for December releases, Warner Brothers is going to be fighting themselves and losing money. They really should delay their movies so they aren't competing against themselves. Yes, Barbenheimer saw money go to Universal, but look where Barbie is now. March of 2024 looks like a nuke year for cinemas. I'm going to take my family to see Wish in theaters. Yeah, and that's another thing. You actually did bring up a very good point in which, another place where it feels so crammed up is actually December, where like I said before, Warner Brothers decided to go and release 3 major movies in a span of 10 days. And I can guarantee you not all of them are going to be major hits. I think out of all of them, the one that will most likely become successful is going to be Wonka. While the rest, I think they're going to be flops. Like, you got Aquaman 2 that's going to be coming out. And considering that movie is a Snyderverse film that will feature an appearance from Amber Heard, I feel like that one is already dead on, that film is dead on arrival. That film has no chance whatsoever. And then The Color Purple, I don't think, I feel like that movie, it's not really for the box office. I think like the reason why it exists, like that's an Oscar bait movie. Like they're doing it for the awards more so than the box office. So I don't think they're going to be that worried about it. So yeah, overall, my thoughts, I think Wonka is going to be fine, but Aquaman 2 is already a flop. And The Color Purple, I mean, we'll see how it performs at the box office, and then we will determine its success. Let's see. I did not realize how packed about March of next year will be, but yikes, holy crap, you're right. My sister and I really only spend money on 2 movies a month. If there's anything interesting, November is the only new movie month I'm actually interested in this year. Honestly, I don't think Elio will do well because of the more familiar titles. I mean, you never know, man. You never know. Again, like many people said the same thing about Elemental, but look at where it is today. And technically, even though Elio is an original movie, we are talking about a Pixar movie. And in that regard, that's where people will have that sense of familiarity. In a way, Pixar is its own brand. Pixar is its own franchise. Pixar is its own IP. And with that, and in that regard, consider considering that people would have that kind of familiarity, they will go and be interested to go and check it out. That's why I say that, you know, with the Pixar name, Elio might legitimately do well. So let's see now. This isn't really that surprising. I honestly get why Warner Brothers would go and delay these movies because of the strikes. I will admit I'm kind of disappointed that Dune Part 2 being delayed, considering that it's going to miss out on the upcoming award season, so it's a bit of a loss. Although I have to ask, out of all the movies, why did Aquaman 2 not get delayed? Considering how much trouble that movie has had and no trailer, yet you'd think it would be delayed. I think it's pretty much at the point, I think with Aquaman 2, like, they just gave up on it. Like, Warner Brothers is at the point where they have given up on all the DC movies. I mean, you saw how Blue Beetle is so far performing, and it's not going great. And considering that all the other recent new DC releases have been bomb after bomb, with Black Adam and then Shazam 2 and then The Flash and stuff like that, there's honestly just no hope with Aquaman 2. So by that point, I think, like, they're not even going to go and bother do that much effort in terms of the marketing, and they're just going to let that, no pun intended, but they're going to let that movie sink. Let's see. Oh, someone mentioned, I think Kung Fu Panda 4 is most likely going to get delayed because I have not seen any marketing on that. Well, then again, I mean, like, it is still a little too early to go and, like, fully present marketing. I mean, like, you could say the same thing about the Snow White movie. I mean, technically there is marketing that recently happened, but, you know, it's kind of a wild thing that's going on. It's kind of like the usual complaints about Disney live action remakes and stuff like that. But I don't know, with Kung Fu Panda, I would say that it's it's not yet to put out all the marketing. I think by the time that Trolls 3 is going to come out, that's when they're going to go and start marketing Kung Fu Panda 4. Let's see. One of the producers for Wish, Juan Pablo Reyes, said that the movie will not be delayed and will keep it in theaters for a long while, similar in a way Elemental was handled. I do think Disney Animation is going to strike once again and will be successful during the holiday season. Just please support it, you guys. Okay, you know, funny thing, I was thinking, like, when you mentioned that Disney Animation is going on strike, I thought legit, like, you mean, oh, they're gonna join the actors and the writers going on strike. Okay, so you mean that, like, yeah, Disney is, like, Wish is going to be a hit. Okay, I got you now. I was just a little bit confused with the words there. All right, I think I'm gonna read one more comment before we go and cap this off. So let's see, where do we have, oh, you know what, I'll go with two. Actually, I'll go with these two. With so many major movies going to 2024, it's not just gonna hurt the companies with all the competition with similar release dates, but it will also hurt theaters, which are still recovering from the pandemic. And now they will have way less major movies in 2023 for people to watch and spend their money. Yeah, at this point, their only real hope is that the November movies would become major blockbusters. Like, their only hope is that either the Marvels or Wish would become billion-dollar hits, that they would be on the same level as either the Mario movie or Barbie. Other than that, yeah, I can imagine that for the rest of the year, it's going to be a little bit rough for movie theaters. Let's see now. With Dune Part 2 getting delayed, with Dune Part 2 getting delayed to next year, I do feel disappointed considering it was the next big anticipated movie I wanted to see this year. So with this movie being pushed to March of 2024 with the other crammed big movies, it is going to create the same mistake again as what happened in June. I'm sure movie theaters will be happy in terms of business, but not so much for all the studios. As for December, WB is going to cannibalize their films on purpose to the point that they might not make money. But then again, I mean, like, some people could argue that they've already made so much money with Barbie that is it really going to matter? But who the fridge knows? I mean, you can only spend so much with the amount of movies that you may have. So with that said and done, folks, I think that should do it for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Yes, I do apologize if this is a shorter episode than usual, but then again, I'm just working with what I have and what I can do, and I do hope that this is still a fun-filled episode, and I hope that you all had a great time. So tune in next week for another exciting episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And also, I would like to go and say, if you would like to go and watch more of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, then don't forget to go and subscribe to me on my Twitch channel, AniMat Live, or on the AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast YouTube channel. At the same time, don't forget to also follow me on whatever podcast service you're listening to, whether it be on Spotify, Google, Amazon, iTunes, and more. And also, to pay respects to Bob Barker, I would just like to say to go and I wish you all to go and help control the pet population. Have your pet spayed or neutered. And with all that said, thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, see you later, dudes!